Madam President, there's an issue that is very important to me personally, but it turns out it's important to a lot of people: tobacco. I lost my father to lung cancer. He died when I was 14 years old. He smoked 2 packs of Camels a day and developed lung cancer at the age of 53 and died. And I'll have to tell you, it's one of the most profound events of my life, to be a high school student and to live through a parent dying slowly of lung cancer. Well, my attitude toward tobacco and smoking, I am sure, is a product of that. And I came to Congress and decided, in a small way, I'm going to try to do something about it. I didn't believe I could solve the problem, but I thought I could help. So over 25 years ago, I introduced a bill in the U.S. House of Representatives to ban smoking on airplanes. Hard to believe, young people still don't believe it today. There was a time when half the airplane was smoking and half wasn't smoking. In fact, everybody was breathing secondhand smoke. And we were successful. We passed the bill in the House of Representatives on a bipartisan vote, and it came over here to the Senate before I was here. Frank Lautenberg, the late senator from New Jersey, took it up and did a great job, and the two of us together made it the law of the land. We didn't know what we had done other than to make airplane flight a little more convenient, safe, and comfortable. It turns out it was a tipping point. It turns out that when we banned smoking on airplanes, people started asking questions 25 years ago. Well, if it's not a good idea to smoke on airplanes, why is it a good idea to smoke on trains and buses and offices and hospitals and schools and restaurants and taverns and every place we go? So today, if you walked into a room and did what people did normally 25 years ago, pulled out a pack of cigarettes and lit one up, people would say, "Stop, what are you doing? You didn't say a word to me. You're going to smoke in front of me?" That used to be normal. Thank goodness it isn't any longer. What's happened is that Americans have a different attitude toward tobacco. The actual debate on this issue began 50 years ago, serious debate, because it was 50 years ago the Surgeon General of the United States of America issued a landmark report that for the first time conclusively linked tobacco to lung cancer and heart disease. Remember this: tobacco is the #1 preventable cause of death in America today, and it has been for more than half a century. When this report came out, it was at a time when people smoked in offices, airplanes, elevators, even in congressional hearings. In 1964, 42% of American adults smoked. It was hard to imagine, but until a few months before the report was released, the Surgeon General himself was a smoker. We've certainly come a long way since that time, and the Surgeon General's report played a big role in changing America. Today, we expect measures like warning labels on cigarettes, keeping cigarette commercials off television, taxes on cigarettes, and now no smoking signs almost everywhere. Thanks to these common sense tobacco control measures, smoking among U.S. adults in 50 years has been cut in half. The report released by Surgeon General Luther Terry in 1964 was a turning point. We've still got a long way to go. Approximately 44 million Americans, nearly 1 out of every 5, still smoke, and more than 440,000 Americans die each year from tobacco-related causes. Last week, the Journal of American Medical Association published a study that showed over the last 50 years, about 8 million premature smoking-induced deaths were avoided thanks to tobacco control measures. However, the study also noted that despite this progress, more than 17 million Americans die prematurely from tobacco over the last 50 years. According to the Surgeon General's report, released in March 2012, tobacco use among kids is a pediatric epidemic and is the #1 cause of preventable and premature death in America. The report also found that every day 700 young people become new regular smokers, and of these new smokers, a third will eventually die from it. We have young people who come and visit us in our offices, in the Senate galleries, and other places. These young people are the targets of tobacco companies. If they can get a kid to start smoking at an early age before they have the maturity to understand the seriousness of that decision, they become addicted. Nicotine is an addictive drug, and it's in tobacco. And so they're picking up new customers by recruiting kids. I have yet to meet the first parent anywhere, anytime, any place who has said to me, "I've got great news for you, Senator. My daughter came home from school and she started smoking." I've never heard that. I don't think I ever will, because we know intuitively it's a terrible thing, and it could affect that young person's great young life. The tobacco industry gets it. Our nation pays the financial burden of the tobacco use through $96 billion in annual medical costs, $97 billion in lost productivity of workers. And at the same time, these tobacco companies invent new ways to lure in these young customers and to entice people to buy their products. 90% of adult smokers began smoking before they graduated from high school. They were just teenage kids, which is why the tobacco companies continue to prey on children. They push products like e-cigarettes. They just had the Golden Globe Awards, and some of these red-hot actors and actresses who we all love to watch in movies, Leonardo DiCaprio and the others, were sitting there puffing away on their e-cigarettes. And I looked at that and thought, you're killing the next generation of fans of your movies. We've got to bring an end to this. E-cigarettes available in shopping malls that release appealing fruit and candy flavored vapors, so it's more of a candy experience than a tobacco experience. That's one of the new tactics. Unfortunately, it's working. Earlier this year, Center for Disease Control released new data showing the use of e-cigarettes among nation's kids is rising. The report raised concerns that for young people, e-cigarettes could be a gateway to traditional cigarettes. More than 3.6 million kids under the age of 18 currently are smokers. And each day, more than 3,500 kids try smoking a cigar or cigarette for the first time. This graph we have here shows how far we've come to reduce the use of cigarettes, but also we've got a lot to do. Between 2000 and 2011, consumption of cigarettes in the U.S. decreased 33%, by a third. During the same time, the use of loose tobacco in cigars increased 123%. Cigar manufacturers are attracting new young smokers. Well, you think, why in the heck would a kid want to smoke a cigar? Because it's like smoking a candy bar. They flavor these cigars with cherry flavoring, sweet chocolate, grapes, and they're trying to get kids to start smoking. Over the past 50 years, we've seen a growing popularity of these candy-flavored tobacco products, smokeless tobacco, e-cigarettes, nicotine candies that look like breath mints. All these products are geared to luring the young into this addiction. I've called on the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to expand and assert its authority over tobacco products, including e-cigarettes and flavored cigars. Unlike traditional cigarettes, e-cigarettes are not subject to federal age verification laws. Kids can legally buy them in most places across America. And although we don't know that most e-cigarettes, although we do know rather that most e-cigarettes contain nicotine, we don't know what else is in them. Without FDA regulation, we won't. This is a story about Sharon, a 52-year-old woman from my home state of Illinois. Sharon started smoking at the age of 13, and she said it seemed like everybody was doing it. After her first puff, she quickly went from being a casual user to a full-blown addict with an expensive tobacco habit. When Sharon reached the age of 37, she was diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer. Thankfully, radiation and surgery saved her life, but she had to have her voice box removed and now speaks through an electrolarynx. Last year, Sharon was courageous enough to allow her story to be used as part of the Center for Disease Control's 12-week anti-smoking campaign, federally funded national anti-tobacco campaign with hard-hitting ads. Well, it sounds like a pretty good effort by the government, but compared to the $10 billion a year the tobacco industry spends on marketing, the CDC campaign spent only $50 million. Tobacco industry, $10 billion. CDC expects the campaign to help up to 50,000 people quit. One of those who called into the quit line at CDC was a woman named Kim in Rockford, Illinois. She was watching an ad with her son that showed the devastating effect of smoking on a North Carolina woman named Terry. Kim said the commercial scared her, and that her son turned to her and said, "Mom, you've just got to quit smoking." Kim called the Illinois Tobacco Quit Line run by the American Lung Association, was connected to the nicotine replacement patch program. CDC's anti-smoking campaign is one of the many tobacco control and prevention measures that's saving lives and shows that we must continue investing in effective tobacco control measures. This is a tough habit to break. One of my best friends in politics happens to be the President of the United States, who used to be a smoker. He's not now, thank goodness, and his family's thankful. We're all thankful that he isn't. But he still takes a little nicotine gum to chew from time to time to deal with that craving that is there. It's tough, but if people work at it and work hard, they can get it done. This week, we commemorate the importance of the first Surgeon General's report on smoking and health and many other legal and cultural changes in this country. But as we look around at the proliferation of new, dangerous products luring kids to tobacco, we still have a lot of work to do. With the right commitment, we can spare future generations from this deadly epidemic of tobacco use.